Hello, everybody. A very good evening, morning, afternoon, wherever you are in the world. I'm just so excited that we are back on here. Let's just wait a few moments to see whether there are mm, there is everybody on there who wants to be on. There are quite a few people already, which is great. And I do hope that the quality of the stream is good enough. I see that the Wi-Fi is kind of a little bit hit and miss, but it hopefully should be on. So yes, thank you very, very much for being there. And it's amazing. Hello to Finland. It's exciting. I'm not so sure if we had Finland on here before, and California, and just a lot of people, which is absolutely fantastic. So I am trying to be on live again on, if not every Tuesday, most Tuesdays again. So it was a pretty long summer break with a lot of traveling, a lot of reflection and work on my new book. And it's just really, really wonderful to have you on here once more. And today we'll have a guest and we'll have a really interesting insight into the upcoming Reiki Summit and very, very interesting ways of how Reiki is, how people can be reached with Reiki in very unusual ways. So it's just wonderful to have you all here. And I'm just checking. There are quite a few familiar names, which is wonderful. And there are more and more coming on here. Canada and California and the UK. So that is fabulous. Then let's just go straight in there. I hope it wasn't too confusing. So today is an interview with Heather McCutcheon on the upcoming Reiki Summit. In the newsletter I sent on, there were actually 2 summits advertised, because this week, actually today, there is a summit starting on autoimmune diseases, and I am a speaker there as well. So in the letters I sent out, you will find this information as well. But tonight we are going to talk about the Reiki Summit. And of course, you can engage in the conversation. You can ask any question you like, and then we will go in something like half an hour or so into a Reiki share where everybody can receive and give Reiki at the same time. And it's just such a wonderful, powerful instrument that Reiki gives us. So now I am very excited to invite Heather McCutcheon. A very, very warm welcome. Heather is the co-host and interviewer of the upcoming Reiki Summit for ReikiRays. She is a Reiki master, and she is the founder of the Reiki Brigade, one of the most unusual and exciting Reiki organizations or Reiki movements in the world. So I can't wait to talk about this. But first, we were basically asked by the fabulous organizers of the summit, the ReikiRays organization, to just talk a little bit about the summit. It's a once-a-year event, and it's coming up soon. And so Heather, a very, very warm welcome.
Thank you so much for having me back, and congratulations on your participation in the Autoimmune Summit. That sounds amazing.
Thank you. It's interesting. It's just great to see that Reiki is used in so many kind of different ways, and that summit is a combination between some holistic healers and primarily physicians from hospitals and universities who research in this field, but to also bring the aspect of complementary therapies, or in particular Reiki, in there is just quite fascinating.
Love it.
The Reiki Summit is basically just a way to look at, well, lots and lots of different ways, I suppose, how Reiki is used and what Reiki can do. So can you just tell me a little bit about like the technicalities about the summit to start with, when it's happening and how it's all, how this is all coming about?
Sure. So it's the ReikiRays Healing Summit. It's been around for several years, growing in popularity each year. Fabulous lineup of speakers, 35 speakers this year. And these are Reiki visionaries from all around the world, people who have written fabulous books, people who are doing incredible work in the world. Several people have been back year after year as speakers giving presentations on their particular topic or different topics. And there's always new people in the mix with some new perspectives and something new to offer. And it's really just an incredible mix of ideas and inspiration and information and education. I think of it as it's like taking 35 Reiki classes. And the cool
Uh,
thing about it is it's free. So it's free if you watch it during the window of the summit, which is November 8th to November 12th. So it's 5 days long. And
okay.
there are a number of the sessions that are put up each day, and they're available for 24 hours, and you can watch them for free during that time. So you can spend no money. And if you have the time during that week, take in, all of that content. Another option is that you can purchase it and own it, have lifetime access to those interviews.
Mhm.
If you pay a fee for it, and if you do that in advance of the summit, it's just $57. So that's a
All right.
very
So it's
affordable
like an
way.
early bird price, and you get
That's right.
all 35 interviews there, and you've got access for a long
Forever.
time.
Forever.
Forever.
You log into the platform and it says, here's your summit speakers. You can scroll through, watch them at your leisure. You can watch them the week of the summit. You can watch them
Mhm.
10 years from now if you want. Whenever you can log in and have access to that. And there's also some additional bonus content. There's giveaways, there's products, there's access to all kinds of great stuff if you sign up for that $57 early bird price
I
package.
see. Okay.
If you wait until the summit starts, if you think, I'm not sure I want to do that, then you're going to pay full price for it, which is $197 to get the
Oh,
the
wow.
full
Okay.
access. So strongly encourage. $57 is not a lot of money. Like I
Mhm.
said, for the equivalent of 35 Reiki classes, pretty much from
Mhm.
these really phenomenal thought leaders from around the world. So everybody can watch it for free for that 5 days. If you want more access, more time to look it over, some of the bonus content that's available when you buy the package, then definitely do the $57 thing in advance. And I'm sure you have a link available for people to access that.
Yes, so I did put the link in there today already, and once you're on there, if I'm not mistaken, you can watch 4 episodes for free to get a taster already of what this is all about. And I am one of them talking about consciousness. So Reiki Base have decided to use my interview as one of these teasers for the summit. But it's just a fabulous event. And so you did a lot of these interviews. What were your highlights or like things that really kind of stood out for you?
I want to say first that I was a speaker for several years before I was invited to be a co-host. And last year was my first year as co-host, and then invited back this year, which I guess means I did an okay job. So that's lovely. But as a speaker, um, I, of course, had my interview, and then I was given access to the other interviews. And, several years ago when I first started working with them, I would scroll through the list and there would be some names that I recognized, or there would be some topics that I was particularly interested in. And I would kind of just cherry pick. It's a
Hmm.
lot of content. It's
Yeah,
37
yeah.
hours total, 35 speakers, but some of them went for more than an hour. And I didn't watch them all. I just watched the ones that spoke to me based on
Mhm.
the description, or, the title of the talk. And the first last year when I was invited to be a co-host, there I was interviewing, 12 or 13 people, some of whom I've never heard of, talking about things that I would not necessarily have clicked on. And that was such a valuable experience for me because I learned something from every single person. It was so mind expanding and perspective giving to talk to, so many different people with so many different ideas coming at this from so many different directions. And I'm so grateful to have that exposure And now I click on
That's
all of them.
such an interesting point. I am really terrible when I think, okay, yeah, sounds all right. Shall I rather just have a cup of tea and some quiet time for myself? I tend to go for the latter and say, okay, I am enrolling in that, so I am doing every of these lessons or interviews. Is really something interesting. I learned the most when I didn't expect it.
Yep.
That's kind of
Yep.
really kind of one of the themes in my life. And when I really didn't want to go and somehow I was dragged there. So it's a little bit like being dragged to like looking at or having to look at Reiki in many, many different ways. So what was like something that was really interesting for you in these year's interviews?
Yes, I took a couple notes. So Kim Chesney, whom I'd never heard of before, she's from the Intuition Lab, and she talked about quantum healing with your intuition. And I've been doing Reiki for, many years, and I have learned about intuition, and I teach intuition in my classes. So I wasn't sure I was going to pick up anything new from this conversation. I loved her. We got on like a house on fire. She talked about Reiki, how it's accessible, and how intuition and Reiki, and how it's been discouraged by the world at large, and about how it's the truth. So intuition, our intuition that can be amplified and enhanced by working with Reiki, is a unifying force. It's empathy enhancing, and it can save the world. And I loved that conversation
Wow.
in a world where especially here in the United States, things are so divisive and people are grappling with different streams of information, what's truth, what's not truth. And having access to your intuition is so important in your decision making. So, whenever possible during these interviews, when people were talking about different techniques and skills, I would ask if we could do a demo. And she was delighted to indulge me. So, we did a little decision making exercise where she had me do a visualization and she talked me through. And it was just, have two different choices. And we went through it. And the answer was so clear to me based on that little visualization exercise that she did. So I think that everyone can have access to that technique in their decision making and their ability to tap into their intuition. And I just feel like that would help the world so much in all the ways we talked about in terms of
Yeah.
revealing truth and empathy and connecting us as a community. So I love that interview, and I strongly recommend that everybody listen to that one.
This is fascinating because for me, I'm very certain I was the least intuitive person on this planet before I got to Reiki. I just didn't get anything beyond the bloody obvious. And Reiki completely changed that. But of course, within Reiki, there are some amazing techniques to enhance that. And this is fabulous. So, wow, that sounds really interesting.
Yeah, so not just information, but actually pick up techniques that you can
Yes,
incorporate
yes.
into your practice and your everyday life. I'm so valuable. Then I talked to Paula Torrero of the Sacred Spring Reiki Collective, and you mentioned that I do Reiki outreach with the Reiki Brigade, and I love that work, and I'm very proud of everything we've done. Paula has been doing outreach for 16 years, so even longer than we have been doing it. So I had a fabulous conversation with her that was really inspiring and motivational. And I hope that people will tune into that and maybe learn some things about how they can do outreach in their community. She was lovely. Um, I talked to Robin Bonelli, who was talked all about Reiki with animals. And so that was not
Wow.
only like a how to, but one of
Mhm.
my favorite takeaways from that, I thought, I have pets, people have pets. Reiki with animals is giving Reiki to your pets. But she talked about giving Reiki to livestock on that grander scale, and also Reiki for shelter animals, which is another form of
Mhm.
outreach. Go out into the
Yes,
community and offer
yes.
Reiki to shelter animals. So I loved everything about that conversation and the new ideas that I came away with for that. And anyone who's interested, who loves animals or is interested in animal Reiki, I think would really benefit from
Mhm.
listening to that interview and being inspired by her. You are familiar, of course, with Andrea Kennedy from Mainstream Reiki and the podcast Beyond the Reiki Gateway. She had been a co-host on the summit in previous years, and she
Mhm.
talked about shifting your Reiki classes to the online environment, to the remote,
Right.
Zoom environment.
Mhm.
And that's a little bit controversial. Some people feel it should only be done in person, and some people are, especially post-pandemic, moving things online. So that was a really interesting conversation.
I see.
And I think one of the great things about the summit also is that the organizers, Maria in particular, is very interested in having different perspectives. So even as I'm interviewing people, sometimes they say things that I have not been exposed to, or maybe are
Mhm.
different from the way that I think. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's challenging for me. But
Yes.
the summit is open to everyone. Different things resonate with different people.
Mhm.
So while teaching Reiki classes online might be controversial for some, other people find that that really resonates with them. And so I love that it's inclusive. The summit is inclusive in that way. And that was a great conversation with Andrea. I
I
talked to
see.
Christian Stone, who has a book coming out, Reiki Business Ready. And that was kind of a step by step question and answer. Are you ready to go into business with your Reiki practice? Is this something that
Oh,
you
wow.
could
Yes.
or should do professionally? Because some of us are, a lot of people are maybe at that. I love Reiki. It's benefited me tremendously. I want to
Mhm.
do it. Can I do it part time? Should I do it full time? Should I open a practice? So that was a fantastic interview for people who are kind of standing at that precipice, trying to decide which direction to go.
Mhm.
And his book might be tremendously beneficial as well. And then Natalie Dyer, who's the president for the Center for Reiki Research,
Mhm.
talked about a post materialism world and how mindfulness practices and Reiki in particular are making inroads into the scientific and medical communities in terms of scientific research and being incorporated into healthcare. So I always find those conversations. We were talking about your
Yes.
autoimmune summit that you have coming up. I love these conversations where people are collaborating with, more Western medical thought in terms of Reiki. And if those are just a couple of the highlights from the
Wow,
interviews that
that
I
that
did.
already sounds very, very interesting, and indeed something, or some of them, I suppose, sound more interesting now that you talk about them than I would have thought when I just kind of saw the topic. So that
That's
is
right.
really, really interesting to get some more background information.
That's right. So a couple more things. Those are highlights from my interviews, but my
Mhm.
co-host is Yolanda Williams from.
Yes.
She's the host of Reiki Radio, the podcast that's been out for 11 years now, and she is her business is the Energetic Alchemist. So she's a phenomenal interviewer, and she interviewed 13 more people. So I can't
Yes.
wait to, and I
Yes.
think she interviewed you. Yes, I can't wait
She
to hear.
interviewed me this time, and you interviewed me last year.
That's
So
right.
yes, it's great.
So
Wonderful.
she's phenomenal, and I can't wait to hear all the interviews that she did.
Mhm.
And in addition to the interview itself, people are encouraged to make some kind of offer up to the audience, the summit
Mhm.
audience. So people will give discounts off their classes, or
Mhm.
they'll have handouts, informational handouts, maybe a discount off their book, etc. So there's all kind of bonus material that's available. Maybe here's a link to a meditation you can do, a guided meditation, or all kinds of stuff just available from the people doing the speaking. So if anything in
Yes.
particular resonates with you, you definitely want to get whatever it is they're offering and follow up with them, follow them on social media, etc., and continue to build this community and expand these conversations with this phenomenal group of people, and everybody who's joining us as new Reiki curious people, new Reiki practitioners, etc.
That's a good point. There is really much, much more. So I am kind of presenting this idea of Reiki and consciousness very much at the Reiki master level, but then people can also take a 4-part free masterclass that I'm offering there, which is something like 1 hour, 1.5 hours in total. So when you put that together times 35, that is
Yes.
really a very, very, very big offering and really interesting. And yeah, thank you so much. This already was very, very inspiring. I think just to kind of look at these kind of different ways, the kind of get some ideas and anecdotes about how Reiki is used. But you are using Reiki in a very interesting way. And already the name of your outreach project, organization, or what you call it, is fascinating. Reiki Brigade. Why did you call it Reiki Brigade?
I think I channeled that. It just popped in my head, and then there was no need to think about what I was going to name it because that was going to be the name. But the the goal of the Reiki Brigade is to bring Reiki into the mainstream and make it a household word. And the way that we do that is we go out and work with different organizations, large social institutions, the police department, the corrections system, jails, etc., the VA, Veterans Administration, working with folks who are under a lot of stress, but also just in the general population at conferences that come. I'm in Chicago, so a lot of conferences are held here, medical conferences, etc. And there's also a lot of large businesses. So just getting ourselves out into the public and offering 10-minute Reiki sessions to folks who are either super challenged or maybe curious, just whatever the situation might be. And Martin Luther King says, we need the people who want peace to be as organized as the people who love war. I'm paraphrasing that.
Yes.
But that's kind of how I think of it, that we need to get organized.
It sounds a little bit like that. A brigade is kind of just marching all in sync with the same goal to all these different outlets. This is amazing. So how do you do that organizationally? So what do people actually get when you say you bring, or the brigade brings Reiki to veterans or to the police force? Or so what is actually happening there?
Right. So tomorrow we're going to Chicago's police headquarters, which is administrative offices. But there are a lot of, officers that would be out on the street that work there also, or will be passing through tomorrow. We set up in the media room, which is a large area. We dim the lights. We play some music. They have aromatherapy there for us. And they have been promoting this for the past week that we're going to be there. And we've been there several times, and they love us. The officers benefit tremendously. So we'll get a lot of people coming that have been there before, but also new people will come try it out. There will be 5 of us there. So we'll have 5 stations set up, and we'll just be offering 10-minute sessions. And if history tells me anything, there will be a line outside the door for the 3 hours that we're there. And we'll give Reiki to, 40 or 50 people that are either administrative or officers or high-ranking folks in the Chicago Police Department, helping them let go of the stress that they're carrying, which is tremendous, which not only benefits them, but it benefits the community at large, because a lot of these people carry guns, and we need them to be calm and centered when they get into difficult situations.
Absolutely. Do you do any follow-up from that? Do people get some kind of information about Reiki and say, okay, if I want to go deeper, then I can do this or that?
We do. We have handouts that we give them, which is some information about Reiki, as well as directing them back to our website. And I now have a QR code on the handout that directs them to our event calendar. So we have some events that are open to the public. If they want more Reiki, they can come to, we're doing an event in the park, or we're going to be here, we're going to be there. They could show up. We now are teaching Reiki level 1 through the Reiki Brigade. So we have a class set up in December, and people that we're giving Reiki to can come sign up for the class. And we do a monthly Reiki share. So there's places for them to go to learn more.
Fabulous. Yes. And is that a free service?
It is free to the people that come and get the Reiki. Historically, for the first 11 years that I did it, it was just free. It was all my time and energy and money that I spent personally out of my own pocket to do it. Now we are charging some people, and we're getting some grant money, etc. But it's still free for the police officers who walk up. They never pay. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, because of course this needs to be in order to make this sustainable. There needs to be some kind of funding for whatever, anything, the materials and so on, the rooms, the transport, and at some stage we do so much free of charge that we also kind of need to earn some money and have some income somewhere. So I think it's really important with all this amazing work to also keep that in mind and say, okay, but if you really want to then learn it, of course, the learning, for instance, I suppose is not free. There is a charge for the courses and so on.
Right. And initially, I thought that corporations, and some of them have, some of the organizations we work
Mhm,
with have sponsored classes for their
mhm,
members to take the class. So they still didn't pay for anything, but they could come to the class, but the organization paid. But now we're kind of incorporating that into our grant proposals,
mhm.
that we would be able to give some scholarships to some people to take the classes. Yeah, I did it for free for probably too long, but it's an interesting conundrum because it's hard to get people to pay for something when they don't know what it is, and part of what we're doing
Absolutely.
is educating people.
Yes.
So there's a crossroads. So I feel like we've built up enough of a market for it, and we
Mhm,
have a good enough history that we can now charge for it, but it took a long time to get there, and that's what all that groundwork was, and now we're at the point where, okay, now we can, um, we have a lot of legitimacy when we
mhm.
go and request, grant funding because we have such a great body of work already behind us.
So how many people do you think have received Reiki through the Reiki Brigade?
It's more than 7,000. I think
Wow.
it's like 7,000, 300-ish right now. Yeah, over the
That
years.
that
We
that
started
really
in
means that that is bringing so much into Chicago because these people will talk about it. So
yeah.
it's not just affecting 7,000 people, it's 7,000 people talking about it. And if they all only talk to 2 more people, then suddenly we are at 20,000 and so on. So this is
Can I tell
incredible.
you a story that I'm super
Yes,
excited
yes.
about? So one of the organizations that we work with is the Institute for Nonviolence Chicago. So these are, many former gang members who are now helping to stop violence along with social workers.
Mhm,
So when there is a shooting, and in Chicago we have a lot of those, they know there's going to be retaliation, people are upset, there could be more violence, and they will go put
mhm,
themselves in that situation and calm things down. And they work with
mhm,
social workers, and they're learning cognitive behavioral therapy to, getting their own emotional intelligence. So we've been working with them for a long time. We go and give those staff Reiki. They were interested enough that they wanted to take a class. So I taught a class, and some of their staff members took Reiki level 1. At the last event we were at with them, they said that they are working with the senior living facility, and the people that had taken the class gave Reiki to the people at the senior living facility, and they loved it so much. The Reiki was the favorite part of that event. When were they coming back? So for me, that was the
that is
ultimate,
phenomenal.
like, I think of us as Johnny Appleseed. We want to plant the seeds. Here's the Reiki, and then we got to move on because so many people don't have it. And this was
Mhm.
one of the first really solid examples of, they took it and now they are out planting seeds. And it just, oh, it's so
Yes.
heartwarming for me. Love it.
That's incredible. Watch this space. Watch Chicago in 5 or 10 years' time and see how it may or indeed will have transformed with his work. It's just
Yep.
absolutely incredible. This is what I find so amazing. Reiki can change the world. Reiki is a
Yes.
complementary therapy, but it's much more. It reaches the hearts, it reaches the minds of people, the emotions, and we change. And this is
Yes.
just so beautiful.
Helping us to evolve individually and as a community and a society. Yeah, follow us on social media. We have Facebook and Instagram accounts if you want to be inspired. I do recaps of our events on Instagram, and you can swing by and see some of our work in action, and just feel warm and fuzzy about that.
That's not what I wanted to put in there. If you tell me what the website is for that, then I'm just going to put it on there right now.
All of our accounts are Reiki Brigade.
Pardon?
So
Just
all of our accounts are Reiki Brigade. So on Instagram, it's Reiki Brigade. On Facebook, it's Reiki Brigade, and our website is reikibrigade.org.
so reikibrigade.org. And then it's just basically Reiki Brigade wherever you go.
Yep. Yep. And you'll
Instagram.
see our logo, which is green, and it's got a bald guy. I wanted him to look kind of like a military guy, and there's hands above
Okay.
and some golden light coming down.
Yes, yes. Okay, brilliant. So reikibrigade.org. Well, thank you so much. This was absolutely phenomenal, absolutely inspirational. Hopefully, there are more people who think, okay, in my town, in my village, in my community, this is something that I could do as well. And we've got more of this kind of really mushrooming all around the world, which is absolutely phenomenal.
And absolutely,
Right.
and register for the ReikiRays Healing Summit 2024 for more inspiration and more ideas, to enhance your own personal journey and help spread the love.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. The link to this summit is found on the 2 newsletters I have sent out, and I will be pestering everybody over the next 4 weeks with some gentle and not so gentle reminders that the Reiki Summit is on early November, so there is no escape. It is so helpful to just broaden our horizon of what we can do with Reiki. And if it's just 1 or 2 little things that we take away from it, thinking, okay, this is something I can do as well, or this is something how I can see it, or I can explain something or make sense of something that I didn't see before, that is already quite something. But it sounds like there is much more.
I would say
And
not 1 or 2 things. I would say at least
yes,
35 things, probably more like 100 things if you watch all those interviews. I've been doing this a long time. I picked up dozens of things from the interviews I did. It's phenomenal.
that's amazing. Thank you so very much. And thank you for being this fabulous host and interviewer. So I have seen how you do that, and some of the videos, and they are just very engaging and professionally done. So
Oh,
thank you
thank you.
so very much again.
Thank you for
And
having me.
I will now just mute you a little bit, and then I will just. Are you happy to stay for
Yes.
10 minutes or so for our
Yes,
radio share? This
absolutely.
is brilliant. Then what I'm just going to do is I'm going to invite everybody to join as we always end our weekly YouTube show with a Reiki share. And of course, this is something that is so phenomenal that we can send Reiki and receive Reiki over a distance. But to do that as a share and to feel the connection with everybody on the share, and not just the people who are there live, but even those who are going to join the share in a replay, is just unbelievable. I wasn't really quite sure whether the energy would still be so tangible and so clear, but we are working on the level of quantum physics where everything is possible. There is no time, there is no space. We are tapping into this level with Reiki, and this is very simply why it works. And the beauty is we can just experience that, and we can share that with people who experience that as well. So I would just ask you, when you're ready, to just take a moment, however you do it, to connect to Reiki. And then you can just close your eyes and feel your connection to Reiki. Then set your intention to connect with everybody who is live on this Reiki share and everybody who will be joining in a replay. And if you've learned the connection or distance symbol, then you can just draw this symbol for a moment to deepen and strengthen the connection with everybody, but it will even work without. And now just sense in the send just set your intention to connect with everybody. You may open your hands a little bit and just kind of direct the hands in this imaginary way of where everybody is. you can really just relax. Reiki is doing the work. And you may want to sense inside for a moment and just feel how deep Reiki goes. And then you can take a moment to just thank Reiki and slowly come back into the here and now. And of course, if you want to have more, you can do a replay, or you can simply just stay for a bit longer in this connection so that you just continue to let Reiki stream A Reiki treatment or a Reiki share does not end when we ended. Reiki just carries on working. And just a few things about what's coming up. So the show is as regularly as I can present it at present. At the moment, I'm in London, so this is this very cluttered cottage where I'm staying at present, which will be my background for this and next week. And then I'm traveling, and the show in 2 weeks will be from Glastonbury, which is a very famous place for spiritual seekers with a very strong energy in England. And we'll be looking at the idea of why some physical places, some areas have this very, very strong energy of the place, and how we can find that and how that is conducive to our spiritual development. In fact, Mount Kurama is one of these places where Mikao Usui found Reiki. Next week, we will be looking at the state of the world, which is getting more and more deplorable, and how we can find inner peace in this turmoil that we see around us and feel around us, and how we can find so much inner peace that we can naturally bring more peace into the world. So thank you again for joining. Heather McCutcheon, thank you so very, very much for joining us today, for talking about your amazing work with the Reiki Brigade and the upcoming Reiki Summit. And please, please do sign up for the summit. Do sign up for free. Have a look at what's on offer, and then do take advantage of the early bird price. There is really amazingly much in there. I am very, very much looking forward to watching all these episodes myself. So thank you so much again. I am now going to try to find the button that I need to press to end this. And Heather, if you just want to stay on there for another 2 minutes, then we can just have a little catch up afterwards, and have a wonderful rest of the day, evening, wherever you are in the world, and see you next week.